Welcome back, Honey Bunch. Hey, it's the holiday season. Welcome back to part 2 of every acting term that actors need to know. If you missed part 1, go ahead and click right up here. A quick update, This Game's Called Murder premiered on Friday, December 3rd in select theaters and is also on Apple TV and Amazon Prime. It's weird, it's fun, it's a ride. Well, let me know what you think. Here are 32 terms about auditioning that you need to know. This is a bit of a review from my last video, but it's important to remember for these next terms. Appointment, aka audition, aka going out for, aka is kind of self-tape. When you get an email for an appointment, kind of rush of anxiety and happiness and excitement can rush over you. That's natural, especially if it's for a target show that you've been tracking for a while. Don't get overwhelmed, because you got this. The age range of the character is listed on the breakdown right after the character's name generally. This is the age range of the character. This range doesn't even have to be close to your actual age as long as you can believably play it. I was playing 16 at 23 and I still, I mean it's rare, but I still sometimes go out for 15, 16, 17-year-olds. It's usually like the old soul characters who are wise beyond their years. There's a big difference between type and brand. There's too much nitty-gritty to go into for this video, but essentially, your type is general. The girl next door, the serial killer, the kid stuck in the friend zone, while your brand is specific to you. So specific, in fact, that you can come up with a tagline from words in your word cloud. Mine is ethereal goddess with an edge. If you don't have a word cloud, pause this video and go watch my in-depth discovering your acting brand video. Linked right up here. Go on, I'll be here when you get back. This is where actors get a majority of their auditions from. If you live in the States, Actors Access is the big one. But we've also got Casting Frontier, Casting Networks, Backstage, IMDb Pro, just to name a few. Check out my Audition Expert playlist for a more in-depth view of all the casting sites you need to know. If you're going in for an in-person audition, you'll most likely sign in with the casting assistant at the front desk. They're the ones running the waiting room, making sure everything is going smoothly. So get to know their names, because chances are you'll be back. They're the ones in the room. Oftentimes they can also be the reader. They're the ones who saw your headshot, sent your headshot to the casting director, which led them to bring you in. So know this person's name as well. First off, let me say this. There is no such thing as a casting agent. I've heard it said by people who are very green to the industry or people that were child actors that are now not working as much in the industry anymore. Casting agent is not a thing. It's just not correct. There's also no such thing as being casted. Please refrain from saying that. It's not a word. The correct way to say that would be, I've been cast in something, or they just cast this, or that part's been cast. There's no casted. Nah, erase that. So the casting director, commonly abbreviated as the CD, is the one who ultimately said yes to bringing you in. They're rooting for you, they want you to get the job, and they believe that you can do it. So relax, they're here for you. Something to note though, if it is a smaller office, then they might not have an assistant and an associate, they may just have an associate or they may just have an assistant. So be sure to read your audition appointment to figure out who exactly is going to be in the room. This applies to going in for in-person auditions, and the term is also used when you're on set. Oftentimes at in-person auditions, there will be a literal piece of colored tape, usually in an X shape. That is where the CD would like you to stand, sit, live the life of the character, play out the scene, because that's where you'll be in frame. Also, where you'll be doing your slate at the beginning of your audition. So even though you're at your mark, don't be afraid to use a space if the scene calls for it. Don't be afraid to be in your body. Human beings naturally move around, they naturally look away, they don't just stand there like statues. It's weird. Take up space within reason. Chances are they're gonna follow you with their camera. This is what's usually done at the beginning or the end of the audition. The slate is basically just information that they need to know about you. It usually consists of your name, your height, and sometimes they want to know your union status, whether or not you're vaccinated. They might ask for your left and right profiles, or to show your hands or other talents you may have, or questions that you may have. So right after the slate, if you have a relevant question and you actually need an answer, that's the time to go ahead and ask it before you jump into the scene. Just know you're asking it for clarification and not asking it just to be chitty chatty. There are some debates going on about whether or not actors should slate in character. I personally don't, only because I want the CD to know my personality and to know who I am outside of this character, especially if it's somebody that's really off the charts or like a serial killer or somebody who's an addict. I want them to know me outside of that. So it may be a little off-putting if you slate in character for characters like that. So here's an example of my slate and how I edit my slate and my full body shots together, and that's what I send in for my audition. If you're self-taping, always read the slate directions because they're different for every single tape, and you want to make sure you're giving them the information that they need. The reader is the person living the life with you during your audition. They're always off camera, usually a little bit across the room towards the left of the camera. If you have multiple people that you're talking to throughout the scene, you can position your eyes to different areas of the room like any normal human being would do. You don't have to constantly lock eyes with the casting director. That's very off-putting. The reader in in-person auditions is usually the casting director, the casting assistant, or the associate. But just because they're casting director, that does not mean that they're good readers. I've had some in-person auditions where I literally got nothing from them. It was complete monotone and I was like trying to drag it out of them and it fell flat. Not saying it's their fault, it's just how it turned out. Other times I was able to really connect with the casting director or the assistant, and that is when the magic happens. So when you're self-taping, try to find a reader that you can really connect with. When I'm self-taping, it's always my husband, and he's gotten a lot better over the years, but he's somebody that I can easily connect with, so it works. But if you have the time, instead of a family member, try to find an actor friend that you can play off of, someone that you trust. And yes, self-taping with a reader still works if they're over FaceTime or Zoom. Sometimes in casting sessions, it's rare, but it happens. You'll be given something that you've never seen before in your entire life and you have no idea what it's about. You don't know who this character is. It's a brand new show and they don't give you any time to prep. And you're sitting there scratching your head like, how are you supposed to do this? They just want you to live the character. And again, it's rare, but it happens. It's happened to me. Don't freak, because you can practice the skill and be ready. Get some actor friends together and give each other 3-page scenes that they haven't seen before. You'll be very surprised as what you come up with. A cold read is when you receive something in an audition and you have maybe 5 to 10, 15 minutes to prep it. You're able to grasp what's happening, you're able to figure out where you're coming from, what you need, you're able to discover your relationship. You're good, but you still don't know it. Cold reads are similar to frozen reads in that you can practice them. You can literally open up any online news article and practice reading it out loud and lifting it up off the page and connecting with an imaginary person. It may sound a bit silly, but just try it. Once you hone that skill, you will be a boss at cold reads. I did a last-minute cold read for Gossip Girl in person, and I was told that I was the best cold reader that they've ever seen in their entire life. So I made a good impression with their office. I'd never been in for that office. This refers to the story in commercials. When you have an in-person commercial audition or you get an email for one, always check to see if they have the storyboards available. In person, it will be posted by the sign-in sheet. Storyboards give the general story of the commercial through images. They will sometimes also reference other famous actors so that you can understand the general vibe that they're going for. Give it a look so that you can be prepared. Director is someone who directs talent on set, but also they're the ones talking to the first team and guiding the show to their overall artistic vision, or that one episode that they're shooting, or multiple episodes that they're shooting, or the film that they're shooting. Do you have a list of favorite directors that you want to work with? You should. Here are some of mine: George C. Wolfe, Jon Favreau, Olivia Wilde, Boots Riley, Jordan Peele, James Gunn, Chloe Zhao. Yeah, that's it so far. A producer is someone who's responsible for the financial aspects. In order to produce a project, you generally have to put up a good amount of money. Producers generally have the final say in casting before it goes to the client or the network for approval. A line producer is known as the heart of the production. They keep track of the budget and the filming process. They're the liaison between production and the producers. Commonly referred to as EP, this person is one of the top positions. They're basically the CEO, and they actually have the final say. They're the ones pitching ideas, financing the film or the show, and sometimes you can find them on set. They're the leading producer of a television series. Sometimes they're also the executive producer. Usually they'll work on the same series for a few years. Oftentimes they're the creator or the co-creator of the show. They also tend to take part in the writing of the show by being the head writer. So they know a lot of stuff. This show is their vision, it's their baby. Showrunners are obviously not involved in films or commercials, but if you're going in person or if you have a callback or something like that, you should know all of these people and their names so you can identify them. A studio refers to a movie soundstage where productions are shot. These are the big ones that you should know. Paramount Pictures, Warner Bros, Columbia Pictures / Sony, Universal Studios, Lionsgate, 20th Century Fox, MGM, and Disney. When you're auditioning for a studio feature, it will usually come from a major studio like one of these. If you book a studio feature, that would be huge for your career, so keep a lookout whenever you get an audition for a feature. Whenever you book a role and it's on network, BBC, CBS, NBC, CW, or Fox, then you can be sure that you're getting a ton of residuals. After I auditioned for Queen Sugar and basically was offered the role, I was told that they were waiting on network approval. Every role that you audition for that is going to be on live TV, you'll need to be approved by the suits that run the network. This is why people have screen tests. Nowadays, regarding approvals, the same is true for streaming services, so Netflix, Hulu, or Amazon Prime will need to approve you before you're officially offered the role. This is mainly discussed during commercial auditions and when you're on set for the commercial. The client is the business or corporation for the commercial, i.e. McDonald's, Target, Neutrogena, etc. You get it. All of the suits that run that corporation also have to approve you before you book the role. The client, the big corporation, hires an ad agency for marketing services. The ad agency then works with the writers, directors, casting directors to cast and shoot and film the project, and then they present it to their clients. Okay, so you've gone in the room for your audition, or you've sent in your tape and you receive an email that you got a callback for the role. This means the CD loved what you did and sent you to producers and they wanted to see you again. I always recommend people wear the same thing that they wore in their initial tape. I urge you not to change too much about how you created your character, other than maybe going a bit deeper into the script. I recommend people being off book and coming ready to play because they may give you some direction. This is basically the same as a callback, or it can happen right after the callback before you screen test and they just want to tweak a couple of things. This just means you'll be doing a work session with the director so that they can see how well you take direction and they can get a sense of what it would be like to work with you on set. Producers and the casting director are usually present and the CD will be the one reading with you. Whoop whoop! You've made it past the initial audition and the callback. Again, wear the same clothes as you did for the initial audition and for the callback. They've been working for you this whole time. There's no reason to change anything. Chemistry reads aren't always romantic. Sometimes they're held to see how well best friends, siblings, co-workers, or other familiar relationships interact. It can also be done in a group setting if you're auditioning for like a group of friends. Shortly after the chemistry read, you should know whether or not you'll be screen testing, or they may book you right off of the chemistry read. By this point, you've definitely made big fans of the casting directors, the producers, and the director. Congrats! This is major. This is what a lot of actors strive for during pilot season. Once you have your first screen test, you're more likely to do more. So once you screen test and do a good job, you know that you've made fans of the network, along with the casting director, the producers, and the directors, and the showrunners. Crazy. Again, you'll want to wear the same thing. You'll want to be completely off book. Come ready to play, connect, and have fun. Arrive early. You'll be able to park directly on the lot. There will be a good amount of suits watching you in the room. They'll be watching your work and how well you take direction and how you are generally just as a person. So don't be overwhelmed. Just expect there to be a lot of people. Before your screen test starts, you'll be signing your test deal, which is basically the contract saying how much money you'll be getting per episode, and you generally sign on for multiple seasons with pay increases each season. You should read this information carefully and take your time if you don't have reps. But if you do have reps that you like and trust, then I'd say it's okay to sign if you truly believe they went over it with a fine-tooth comb. I also still take photos of the test deal contract so you have those images for your records. It can be a little daunting to see the potential for the amount of money that you can make and how much money is on the line, but hey, you've made it this far. Your main job is to book the studio and make more fans, which will lead to more opportunities. And if you book the job, that's just the icing on the cake. This refers to back in the day when CDs would literally pin someone's headshot that they're really considering to the wall and take a look at all of the people that they're considering. Pins are great, but a lot of times they don't amount to anything and you never really hear anything else other than, oh, you've been pinned from your initial tape. Great, what's next? Oh, crickets? Cool. So getting pinned usually come after the initial audition. That could lead straight to a booking or it could lead to a callback. So if you get pinned, know that you've made a fan of the casting director and notate that in your notebook. It's useful information. Actors love hearing, you're in the mix. This means you are so close to booking the role. It's probably between you and like less than 5 other people. Know that you've made some amazing fans and celebrate this. For every audition, they're probably seeing 200 actors. That's a big deal. Celebrate it. Be proud of yourself. On Avail, first Avail, checking Avail, on hold. If they tell you you're on hold, they have to pay you though. This is common with commercials. Being on Avail for a commercial is much like being in the mix for a theatrical project. It means you are so close to booking. Congrats, you made it to the final round. It's a big deal. All that's left now is for the client to approve somebody, and hopefully that person is you. Offer is, as you guessed it, being offered a role. The offer comes in an email, which also comes with the deal memo, which is the main deal points that are going to be in your contract. So it has your rate, your working dates, your flight information, like your business or first class, not exactly the flight information itself because that's a travel memo. But for the deal memo, you'll have that information. You'll also have what kind of trailer you're going to be in, just basic stuff that you kind of need to know. Celebrities are oftentimes offer only, which means that they just constantly get offers for projects and they get to pick and choose whatever their heart desires, which sounds like the dream. The words that every actor wants to hear: congrats, you booked the role. When you're first starting out, this may be far and few between, and that's okay. You have to think about it and put it into perspective. They're seeing upwards of maybe 300 people for a role. Think about all the people that have to say yes to bringing you in, saying yes to pushing you to producers, and then the amount of people that have to approve you. There's so many people that have to say yes because there's so many cooks in the kitchen all the time. And if one person says no or isn't sure, they have to start the whole process over again. So don't feel bad when you're first starting out. It's literally insane that anybody works ever. Just keep going and focus on booking the room and creating relationships with the casting directors, producers. Do your thing. You got this. If you're good, if you're consistent, if you're reliable and trustworthy, you'll end up working. So whenever you do book something, regardless of how small you deem it to be, celebrate that. Whew. Okay, that is it for this week's video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Drop a comment below and let me know what your biggest takeaway is from this video. Was it helpful? Were there things you didn't know? Well, let me know. And remember, you can watch this game called Murder streaming now on Amazon Prime or Apple TV. And I'll see y'all Thursday after next for the last video in this 3-part series. Bye, happy holidays.